Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of My Name is Dad. I am your host, Brandon Benson, and I am solo this week, as Brody is at his mom's house this week. And we're a little bit late on this episode just because Brody had a football game and was way in Yuma, Arizona. So I drove about 6 hours, 3 hours there, 3 hours back to go watch his game. They did win like 50-something to 0. So it was a nice, good game for him. But I'm solo this week. And the sponsor, let's get the sponsor out of the way, which is myself. Point B Grading and Turfgrass Maintenance, LLC. I do a lot of, I'm a landscape contractor, so I do a lot of laser grading, and I do some irrigation work and just some turfgrass management, turfgrass consulting. If you're having problems with your grass, growing grass, can't quite figure it out, give me a call, and I can come up with some solutions for you. All right, and that is pointbgrading.com and pointbgrading@gmail.com. All right, we are moving on to college football, and let's recap week 6, and we're kind of in the middle of the season here where we're kind of starting to separate. We're really starting to separate the good teams and the bad teams and the pretenders and the contenders. So, the top 25 has changed a lot over the course of the year, but a couple big games that happened. Obviously, Texas Tech, my Texas Tech Red Raiders, took care of business on the road at Houston. It wasn't the greatest game by Texas Tech, but they did enough to win. And that's all you got to do on the road. You just got to get the win on the road, no matter how it happens. Get that win. And then the other couple big games, University of Miami, they're ranked number 3. They beat Florida State in a big game, 20-22 on the road in Florida State. Florida State, some people kind of considered maybe they might be contenders, might want to make a run at the playoffs, but it doesn't maybe quite look like that way. They're going to probably have to run the ACC to do so. And then one of the big games, one of the biggest upsets of the year, and one of the biggest upsets I can think of is Penn State going on the road to UCLA. UCLA had not won a game. They had looked terrible in every game that they played. Penn State coming off the big whiteout loss to Oregon. They go all the way on the road to UCLA and lose 42-37 to UCLA. So Penn State, I think, drops out of the top 25 because of this loss. UCLA gets its first win, and it's a big, huge win. UCLA had fired their coach, Deshaun Foster. They have an interim coach. He comes in and he gets something going. I don't know what happened. I only kind of watched the end of that game because I was like, oh, then there's no way that Penn State's going to lose this game, and they did. So that really shakes up the Big Ten standings with Penn State now 3-2. A couple of the other games was Oklahoma was at home. They destroyed Kent State 44-0, and then Texas goes on the road to Florida, unranked Florida, and they lose in the Swamp. But the Swamp is a very, very tough place to play. Alabama also takes care of business against Vanderbilt. A lot of people were high on Vanderbilt to at least cover that spread. But Alabama, after their first week loss to Florida State, has bounced back. They have righted the ship, and they are looking good, and they're in the top 10 again. Okay, so looking ahead to week 7 of college football, we'll start out with my Texas Tech Red Raiders are at home against Kansas, who's 4-2. Texas Tech is now ranked number 9. They should take care of business here. They're favored by 14 points. A couple other big games. Ohio State, number 1 Ohio State, they're 5-0, going on the road to Illinois, who's 5-1. They had the one loss against Indiana. They got their butt whooped, but they have bounced back, and they're looking pretty good, so that should be a good game. We got Alabama, number 8 Alabama, on the road at Missouri. Missouri's 5-0, and this is a good game for Missouri to kind of show if they're a real contender or a pretender. And then also another big top 25 matchup is University of Indiana, 5-0, going on the road all the way to Oregon, who is also 5-0. They're number 3 in the nation. And then the one super big rivalry game. This is the biggest rivalry, and really the only one I think worth sort of mentioning. I didn't do a deep dive into rivalry games this week, but the Red River rivalry, Oklahoma is technically, I guess, the road team. They're number 6 in the nation. Oklahoma 5-0, but they're playing Texas, who's 3-2 at the Texas State Fair in a Cotton Bowl. Again, we're kind of in the middle of the season here. The only thing that I kind of wanted to talk about real quick, though, before we get into our picks, was the travel. So you're starting to hear, after conference realignment, USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington join the Big Ten. Cal and Stanford join the ACC. These are notoriously more Midwest, East Coast sort of conferences. Now they have these West Coast schools. The Pac-12 is gone. And a lot of these coaches and these teams are now starting to complain about having to travel all the way across the country. And I think we're starting to see that a little bit last week when Penn State had to go all the way to UCLA, even in good weather. Just that long travel, the different time zone, all that stuff really affects these kids, really affects the teams. So I think for a betting strategy wise, I put more emphasis on teams who are at home, and I'm definitely looking at how far teams are traveling, if they're changing time zones, if they're going to a different sort of weather. All those factors, I think, are going to start to have heavily more influence my bets and everything. All right, let's get into our picks, and let's see what Brody's got here. Let me pull the picks real quick. Okay, Brody's first pick, his cover pick, he is taking Oklahoma -1.5 versus Texas in the Red River rivalry. And I actually happen to agree with this one, too. I think he's starting to see, I think Brody's starting to see what everybody else is starting to see, that Texas was ranked number 1 at the beginning of the year. They are not. They're barely a top 25 team, if not. They haven't really looked that good. So I agree with Brody. I think Oklahoma's going to take this game. I think last year Texas put a whooping on Oklahoma, so they're probably looking for a little bit of revenge in this game. All right, my first cover bet is going to be I have Oregon -7.5 over Indiana. Again, Indiana's got to travel all the way to Oregon. It's a tough place to play. The weather's starting to change. Oregon, I think, is really, really good. I think Oregon is a national championship contender, along with Texas Tech, along with Ohio State. I initially thought Penn State at the beginning of the year, but that doesn't look like it's going to happen. So Oregon, I think, is going to cover the 7.5 point spread. Brody's straight pick is Texas Tech is going to beat Kansas. I think Brody and I are both on the same page that Texas Tech looks like they're the best team in the Big 12, probably going to win the conference, going to get that good playoff seed for the college football playoffs. Texas Tech's favored by 14 points. They should handle business against Kansas pretty easily. Okay, my straight pick is going to be Texas A&M -7.5, even though it doesn't matter in the straight pick. But they're at home. They're going to play Florida. Florida coming off that big win against Texas where they were not favored. Everyone thought Texas might go in there and win. But Texas A&M, they look good this year. I think they're going to handle business at home. Again, going into College Station, the 12th man there, that's a tough place to play. So I think Texas A&M handles this one as the straight pick. And then Brody's dog pick is South Florida. They're +1.5 at North Texas. I don't know too much about this game. I didn't really look too far into it. But South Florida's been playing well. They had a really good run at the early in the year. They had a tough preseason schedule. They did end up losing to Miami, but no shame in that. And Miami's a really good team. They're top 3 team. So I like that pick also. My dog pick is Oklahoma +1.5. And the Red River rivalry against Texas. Again, I think this is a revenge spot for Oklahoma. I think they're the better team. This is another big game, national sort of televised game for Arch Manning in Texas. I just don't think that Arch Manning I think he's a good player, but I don't think he's quite matured. I don't think he's quite developed enough to go in and win this game. All right. Those are our college picks for week 7. All right. Now let's move on to the NFL and let's recap week 5. Obviously, everyone's talking about the Arizona Cardinals game, which is just an atrocious game. I told Brody I thought the Cardinals would win this game, but I thought it would be a close game. I did not think the Cardinals would cover the spread, and they actually end up losing this game. Now, I think a lot of people are, they're blaming the Amari DiMercato where he had a 72-yard run and he, was sort of celebrating, not really celebrating, but he was, easing up and he let the ball go right before the goal line and it went out the back of the end zone. So it's a touchback that would have made the Cardinals at probably like 28 and they would have easily won this game. But I don't blame him. I do not blame Amari DiMercato for the loss. Now, Marvin Harrison Jr. is finally playing a whole lot better, so I can stop criticizing him. But I'm totally going to blame this game for the Cardinals. I'm going to blame the coaching staff. Jonathan Gannon down. Now, if you watch the game, the Cardinals went up early. It was like 21-3. It was like 21-6 at halftime. But as soon as the Cardinals scored 21 points, they totally let off the gas. And I think that's a direct, reflection, a reaction from the coaching staff. They went super conservative. They let off the gas. The whole team sort of, fed off that vibe from the coaches. So I blame the coaches for this loss. They did not step on the gas and make a statement win. And they allowed, again, another team to come back with stupid mistakes. Now, the poor mistakes, Amari DiMercato, the interception fumble for a touchdown, those are terrible mistakes by the players. But I think overall, I'm going to blame the coaches for this because they allowed the Titans to get back in this game. They took their foot off the gas. They stopped blitzing. They just ran the ball. They didn't put the ball in their playmakers' hands. Something's wrong with Kyler Murray. I think something's wrong with his arm. He's underthrowing every deep ball. He throws these like little moon balls, these little floater passes that I've never seen him. Usually he has a strong arm. He was a baseball player. He got drafted by the A's to go play baseball. I don't know if I'm the only one who notices this, but I think something's wrong with his arm. He hurt his foot in the game. He may not even play this week. But, yeah, it was a bad loss. And I think the Cardinals are done this season. I kind of thought they were done after like week 3 or week 4. It's going to be a long season for the Cardinals. And, again, I put all the blame on the coaches, not for the Amari DiMercato play, not because they lost the game, but because they took their foot off the gas way too early in this game. All right, the other big game that I remember was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Seahawks had a little bit of a shootout. The Buccaneers did come out and win 38-5. And then the other one was, the Chiefs-Jaguars game was a nice, good game. Jaguars are playing well. I mean, it's hard to deny. I wasn't high on the Jaguars coming into the season, but they're kind of proving me wrong. They're playing well. They beat the Chiefs. They're 4-1 now. Normally, the AFC South is usually around 500, their records, but the Jaguars are playing well. They beat the Chiefs. That was a good game. And, yeah, I was proven wrong by the Jaguars. Let's put it that way. All right. So going into this week, we're going into week 6 of the NFL. I was kind of thinking about what teams should be panicking and what teams are giving up. Now, obviously, like the Jets are 0-5. They're playing for next year. The Titans, the Browns, the Dolphins, they're all playing for next year. But you get to like the Ravens in the AFC, they're in full panic mode. Lamar Jackson's hurt. They had a tough early on schedule in the season where I thought, okay, they had a tough schedule. If they can just keep winning, they can get back on track, win their division games. But they keep losing. They're 1-4. They're in full panic mode. And this might be John Harbaugh's last year over there. I don't know what's wrong with the Ravens, but they should be a playoff team. They should be Super Bowl contender. And they are 1-4. Not good for them. The other team that's panicking right now is the Cincinnati Bengals. They're 2-3. They lost Joe Burrow. Ever since they lost Joe Burrow, they've been full panic mode. They did trade for Joe Flacco, so we'll see how that helps them. But I think the other ones, I mean, the Patriots are playing well. Jags are playing well. Steelers somehow are 3-1. I don't know. They don't seem to be playing that well. But the Bills are in control, 4-1. The Colts are playing amazing. So we got 2 AFC South teams, the Colts and the Jaguars, both 4-1. That's going to be a tough to see who wins that division. But for really me, I think the Raiders, they're not in panic mode. They're playing for next year, too. Chiefs are in a little bit panic mode. They need to make sure they stay winning. They need to win some division games. And the Texans are definitely in panic mode also. Take a look at the NFC. Let's see. Saints are playing for next year. Giants get a big win yesterday against the Eagles. Now, I think the Eagles are in a little bit panic mode. I don't know why. Every time it's like the Eagles lose one game and everyone starts freaking out. But you see, it really starts to affect the team. They are a little bit in panic mode. But the 49ers, 4-1, I don't know how. The Buccaneers are playing well. They're in control of the NFC South. They're 4-1. Lions, 4-1. Green Bay, they're doing fine. The Vikings are okay as long as they can hold off and win some more games here. But the Rams are doing well. The Rams are 3-2. They're actually outside of the playoffs right now if you look at the standings today, but they're a good team. They're going to be okay. Again, the Cardinals are in panic mode. They're freaking out. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if they're going to bounce back from this game against the Titans or if they're going to crumble. I'm going to bet they're probably going to crumble, but we'll see. That's just how the Cardinals go. I think the Bears are in panic mode. They're trying. I hope they're not trying to play for next year. I think they're still fighting, so we'll see what happens with them. Falcons are still fighting. Cowboys are still in the mix. So I think most of the panic teams are going to be in the AFC. But I think, the Cardinals are the one team that's in full panic mode, and the Eagles, who are 4-2, so they shouldn't be in panic mode, but I think they are. Now let's move on to some picks. And let's take a look at Brody's pick here. I'm doing all this on my phone, so it's taking a little bit of time. Okay, Brody's first cover pick is the Dallas Cowboys, -3 at the Panthers. Again, I guess Brody sees that the Panthers aren't very good. I actually kind of like the Panthers in this game to cover this spread, so I'm a little bit in disagreement with Brody. But he must like the Cowboys. They still have Dak Prescott. They have George Pickens. They're playing okay, but they definitely need a win to kind of stay in the playoff hunt. All right, my first cover pick, I'm going to take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers -3. They're at home. Buccaneers are playing well. Baker Mayfield looks like he could be MVP candidate. The 49ers are banged up. I don't know how they keep winning games, but they do. But I think they got to go all the way to Tampa Bay. Buccaneers are playing well. I think the 49ers maybe just kind of coast through this game. Hopefully they can get to a bye week or something and get some players back healthy. So I'm going to take the Buccaneers -3 to cover that spread. Buccaneers all the way on that one. All right, Brody's straight pick. He's got the Indianapolis Colts versus the Cardinals. Again, Brody must be on the same page with me. I don't think the Cardinals are going to, bounce back and team unity and let's go, guys. I think they're in panic mode. They're going to crumble. I think the season falls apart for the Cardinals. It looks like that's what Brody's thinking too. He's got the Colts over the Cardinals for his straight pick. My straight pick is going to be the Los Angeles Chargers over the Dolphins, and the Chargers got to go all the way on the road to Miami. But the Chargers never really play a home game, even though they share that stadium in LA with the Rams. They never have the best crowd. Every game that they play is a road game, so they're used to it. The Dolphins are playing for next year. This might be the game where their coach Mike McDaniel gets fired. So I like the Chargers straight up to beat the Dolphins. And then Brody's dog pick. He's got the Detroit Lions +2.5 at the Chiefs, which, again, I think the Chiefs are in a little bit panic mode. The Lions are playing well. They're scoring. They had a bad, first week, but since then, they are scoring tons of points, 40-plus points a game, whatever it is. So I don't think that's a bad pick at all either. I think that's going to be a good game. All right, let's just go with this one. I like a lot of the favorites this week. But let's take the Tennessee Titans. They are +4 going into Las Vegas against the Raiders. The Raiders, I don't know, they're kind of really inconsistent right now. And Titans coming off that win against the Cardinals. Maybe they found something. They finally broke the ice, got that first win. And, they did kind of play well in the second half there. Looked like they Cam Ward sort of figured something out. So, I don't know, let's take the Titans +4 in Las Vegas for my dog pick, and hopefully they can keep riding this train after that big win against the Cardinals. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of our show. Thanks again for listening. I'm going to try to have another Who Am I series episode out here pretty soon. And sorry for it. This is coming out a little bit late. But Brody will be back next week, and we'll check on the flip side. Thanks for listening.